Hello, everybody. Today, we will talk about all the legalities aspects which are necessary to know when working with a company and a EP in ICX. My name is Olga, and I am MCVP Talent Management and Legalities. And today, we will cover the following topics. We will talk about the general information when it comes to sending contracts and all the necessary documents that you need to follow up with the company. Then we will talk about the Visa C, and we will talk about the Visa D. When are they relevant, what to keep in mind, and again, what documents the EP should hand in. Last but not least, we will talk about the residence permit and when to apply for it. Now, generally speaking, once you and the company agree to work with each other, you send the company a contract. Next to the contract, it is crucial that you also send 2 annexes, which we will cover a bit more in depth in the next slides. For now, what to keep in mind is that no matter what you send to the company and no matter what the conversation is, you should always use your isec.net email address. And what is also very important is that you should make sure that the contracts that you send and the annexes are always up to date. You can always follow up with your team leader or with also me, the MCVP Legal. So make sure that it's always up to date and make sure that it's always in PDF form and not the Word format. This is on one hand important because it is more professional this way, but also because Word files can be changed, and you should make sure that this is not happening. Now, what are the annexes in this situation? First of all, the ISEC Exchange Program Policies. This document was created by ISEC International, and it defines the rights, roles, obligations, responsibilities, procedures, and protocols for every stakeholder participating in an exchange in any of the ISEC programs. Basically, it is the document that describes the way we do everything we do. And it is crucial that you send it with the contract, because the contract that you send to your stakeholders is based on this ISEC Exchange Program Policies. When they send the contract, that means that they also agree with the AEPP. Another document you should send is the AUFA, which is something we will cover in the next slides, but you should also keep in mind that this is something that you only send to the startups, and it is for the security and the insurance of the EPs. And last but not least, a third document that you should send is the project description that you agreed on. Now, regarding the AUFA, as mentioned before, it is the social insurance for occupational risks and every work-related accident. In the 2 slides ago, I mentioned that you only should send 2 annexes. The reason why I wrote that is because this document you only send when we talk about IGTa short projects. You can find out more about it, what an IGTa short project is, in the other NEC video. But no matter whether the person is from the European Union or outside of the European Union, you should make sure that the AUFA is sent for all citizens. Now, keep in mind that you should send the application at least 2 weeks prior to the internship start. Better start earlier than later. And all the documents that you send to the AUFA responsibles should be in German. You can, however, translate the documents for the EP in English for them to understand what this topic, what it is about. But when sending the documents to AUFA, they should be in German. Now, you can either do all the necessary steps yourself and also submit the application yourself, the AUFA application, or you can delegate this task to the company or startup. We personally recommend that you should do it yourself to make sure that everything runs smoothly and that you're always up to date on what is happening and when the documents were sent. You can send the application with all the necessary documents per email, or you can bring them in a hard copy format personally to a AUFA Landstelle. Here for you, I also depicted the different AUFA Landstellen in the different areas where we have a local committee. Now, what are the necessary documents when it comes to AUFA? You do not just send the form, like the document asking for the social insurance. You have to keep in mind a couple of documents. So first of all, the voluntary agreement. It has two parts. On the first hand, the document which you need to fill out, giving all the information about the project, about the company, about the EP, and a questionnaire. It needs to be signed by the CEO of the company you work with. And of course, you should make sure that every box is filled, so you do not have to repeat the whole application process multiple times. Another document that you need to send is the MS Letter Ausländerbeschäftigungsgesetz. And this is basically stating that ISEC EPs are excluded from the law of the Ausländerbeschäftigungsgesetz. So they do not need a work permit or a Anzeigebestätigung from IMS. You can find this document by reaching out to your VP or, again, me. ISEC Vereinbarung. It is signed by your LC and confirms that there is a voluntary internship with a specific position provided by the company in cooperation with us. And the voluntary contract. Here again, it needs to be signed by the company and by the EP. And as mentioned before, most likely with many documents that we need to provide, they will be in German and the EP will not understand it. You can send them the contract in English, but again, keep in mind that when submitting it to AUFA, it needs to be in German. Last but not least, when it comes to AUFA, you should definitely follow up with the AUFA process if you see that it takes too long or if you are not sure in which stage the application process is right now. You can follow up with the company or you can follow up with one of the Dienststellen that I mentioned before. You can always find them in the presentation later on. Now, if there is no answer for more than 10 days, you can just simply call them and follow up. Usually it helps, and usually if you call them, they start looking into the certain topic more in depth and finish quicker. Also, let the company know that they will have to do the deregistration within 7 days after the internship ended. And here again, you should definitely follow up with the company whether they actually did it or not. Now that we covered the documents and the visa, the contracts, let's talk a bit more about the visa process for each EP. There are two different types of visas, and then there's also the residence permit. When it comes to visa C, we also call it the Schengen visa, or it is a tourist visa. And this is the visas that the EP should apply to when their project is up to 90 days, within a total period of 180 days. And it is for only to apply for by non-EU citizens. Now, even if the EP comes from a country which has an agreement with Austria that they can stay up to 90 days without a visa in Austria, they should still apply for the visa C because they are not staying here as a tourist, which they maybe are allowed to without a visa, but they're staying here to work. And then they definitely have to have a visa C, no matter what country they come from, if it's outside of the EU. Here I also listed down all the countries that they then will be allowed to travel to, so they do not necessarily have to just stay in Austria. And here we're talking about countries in the EU, but also non-EU members, for example, Switzerland, Norway, Iceland, and Liechtenstein. So what are the necessary documents that the EP will need to submit? Before we dive into this, I just want to point out that just like with the AUFA, here, the heading, I linked some of the most important documents in the presentation, but you can also always find it in the drive or by asking your VP, your MCVP ICX, or me, your MCVP legalities. So what do you need? You need the application form, you need the travel document. So in most cases, it's going to be the passport. Make sure that it's issued within 10 years and that the validity period should exceed the visa validity by at least 3 months. Also, the EP will most likely need to pay 60 euros as taxes, and they would need to have a passport photo with 3.5 to 4.5 centimeters. They should have a travel insurance for the duration of the stay, covering all risk and insured sum of 30,000 euros. And proof of sufficient means of subsistence for the scheduled duration and for the return of the country to the country of origin. Next to all of these documents, which you should inform the EP about that they need, you should also provide accommodation proof, letter of invitation, and the EP should also provide a flight ticket. Again, this is all the information that you need to provide to the EP, because after all, the added value that ISEC provides to the EPs, next to the leadership development, next to the cultural exchange, is that we are also giving them information and helping them with the visa process. So it is important for you to understand this topic, and it is important for you to communicate it. The other visa type is the visa type D, and this is basically for nearly all projects that the EPs apply to when they stay longer than 90 days. So it's for a GT that lasts longer than 6 months, that lasts 6 months or less, and more than 90 days and less than 100 days. And it is important to note that they can apply to this visa from their own country, not in Austria. And then if the project is longer than 6 months, they can first apply for a visa D in their own country, then come here, and then from here apply for a residence permit. But again, this is only necessary to apply for a residence permit if their GT is longer than 6 months. And here, the difference, a big difference to visa C, is that here everybody needs to apply for this visa, no matter whether you are from the European Union or not. So, what are the necessary documents? As well, here you would need to communicate them to the EP. A filled out formula, which I again linked, a valid passport, again a photo with the same measurements, travel health insurance, the same as in the previous visa, contract from the company, proof of enough means to sustain oneself. Here, usually, it is enough to send in the contract, which states the salary, confirmation of accommodation from ISEC, so the Unterkunftsbestätigung, the IMS letter, the invitation letter from ISEC, and flight, bus, or train reservations. Again, here you can usually, some of the documents are linked here. Some of the documents you can ask for by asking your VP, your MCVPs. Now, as mentioned before, if we have a visa, if we have a project which is shorter than 90 days, they apply for visa C. If they have a project which is between 90 days and 180 days, they apply for visa D. But if they have a project which is longer than 180 days, then they first need to apply for visa C in their home country, come here, and then here apply for a residence permit. This is for all projects that are longer than 6 months, and they can only apply from Austria. So what are the necessary documents? The form of residence permit from Ministry of External Affairs, the Meldezettel letter, the passport photo, health insurance, contract from the company or startup, proof of enough means to sustain oneself, the confirmation of accommodation from ISEC, the IMS letter, invitation letter from ISEC, a birth certificate, and a police clearance. As you can see, most of the documents, not all of them, are also necessary in the visa D process. Now, if you know that a project is going to be longer than 6 months, then I highly advise you to apply for the residence permit once the person comes here, because usually this process takes a long time and it is better to start it earlier than later. Thank you so much for going through this video, and I hope that it was very informative. And if you have any questions, you can always reach out. And yeah, make sure to go through the presentation one more time, take notes, and in the end, get ready for the final quiz. Thank you.